what's up? My name is Tori. I'm a fourth year medical student. And yeah, I'm just here on the internet to give out some advice about medical school so you can do it better than I did. So I haven't posted a video in a while for a few different reasons. So one, March has just been a wild ride. Life has been lifing, but in all of the best ways possible. I cannot complain. It's just been a lot going on, and also we've been watching March Madness, women's basketball. I mean, no shade to men's basketball, like no shade, but like it's been so much fun to watch, and I've been watching that with my family and stuff. So yeah, I've just been enjoying the month of March. And you know, I did my third year clerkships back in 2022, so about like 2 years ago. After almost 2 years and going through therapy for about 1.5 years, I just didn't know if it would be right for me to speak on third year. I didn't know if my experience was just worth talking about, but I really think God is putting it on my heart to talk about it because I keep thinking about it. Not my experience, but just to give advice. I've come to terms with the fact that my experience is my experience and I can't change it, but it is still valid and there's value in it because I've learned a lot from it. So we're going to talk about third year today. If you're getting ready to start your clerkships, you're getting ready to be a student on the wards, here are just my 7 pieces of advice that I wish I would have done. I hope that they can help you too. So let's get into it. So the first thing I want to talk about is being respectful of time. Others' time, your own time, just recognizing that time is of the essence and it is limited, so you need to respect it. What I mean by that is you need to show up to your clerkships on time. You know, when you start somewhere new on a new team, no matter what, you need to always be like, what time do I need to get here? When is an appropriate time for me to leave? Most of the time that will show up in your syllabus, okay, for whatever clerkship you're about to start. But it's always good to run that by the team that you're working with, so you can be respectful of their time and they can be respectful of your time, hopefully anyway. Another aspect of time is you have to respect your own time. Procrastination is not respecting your own time, okay? If you are a serial procrastinator, and let me tell you, this is coming from a previous serial procrastinator, you gotta let that go. It's time to cut that out, okay? Procrastination will not serve you. I used to justify it by saying, you know, like, I can only really do great work when it's coming down to the final hour. If I had too much time, then it was like paralyzing. No, that is a lie that we tell ourselves to justify bad behavior. Leave procrastination behind. Do not fall behind on doing your questions, whether they be on UWorld or AMBOSS, on practice exams, whatever. Don't fall behind on studying the material that you need to know for clerkships, or if you're doing research, don't fall behind on that stuff. You know, you don't want to make life harder for yourself. Like, you have such limited time. You just got to make the most out of it, okay? Number 2 is comparison is truly the thief of joy. Here's the thing about med school, man. There's a lot of comparison. There's a healthy level of comparison and competition, but it's a very thin line that can cross over into unhealthy. It's already such a small bubble. You're already sizing yourself up to these people. There's already a lot of imposter syndrome. If you go into clerkships with the same attitude of comparing yourself to your peers, you're gonna get wrecked. You have to understand that you're coming in with the knowledge that you have, and they're coming in with the knowledge and experiences that they have. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, you just can assess where you're at and then say, hey, you know what? I didn't know that, but I can learn it because you're there. You're already a smart cookie. You can learn so many things, and you can always get better at so many things. Don't compare yourself. We all have got strengths and weaknesses. You just got to figure out what are your strengths, play them up. What are your weaknesses? Get better at them over time. I don't know if that man sneezed or he just like threw up in his mouth. I really don't. That sound was so odd. The third thing that I want to talk about is the importance of teamwork, okay? Medicine is not a individual sport. It is a team sport through and through, okay? A team is only as strong as each person on it, and when you can actually help each other and rely on each other and support one another. Your classmate that you are rotating with, your peer, that's your teammate. That's not your competition. You know, like if I didn't get something right, or if I was struggling with something, my classmate would always help me through it or help me understand things better. And if they were struggling, or if they, you know, needed a little boost or something, like I was gonna help them in any way I could. The clerkships are just so much more fun and so much more easy to get through when you can collaborate and work in tandem successfully. If that's not your jam, then that's problematic and it needs to be your jam. If you don't know what teamwork is, take some time, sit down, pop in like 2006 High School Musical, the original, go all the way to that last song at the end. We're all in this together. Familiarize yourself with that song. I don't think I could put it in this video. Point number 4 is understanding the difference between constructive criticism and feedback versus personal attacks and disruptive behavior. Constructive feedback is important. We all need feedback. If nobody's giving you feedback, that's not a good sign, okay? In order to become a better doctor, a better whatever in whatever field you're trying to do, you need feedback. You need someone saying, hey, this is what you're doing. This is how you can improve upon that. Like, that's how you get better in anything in your life. Sometimes it's hard to take feedback, especially when you're in that position of being evaluated and graded based off of performance. Does this mean it's going to show up in my eval? Does it mean I'm a bad person? Does it mean I'm a bad student? And it doesn't mean any of those things. It just means that you're human and you have room to grow, and you're a student, so you're supposed to have room to grow. Even when you're not a student, you're always going to have room to grow. So it's important to be open to receiving feedback and actually acting on the feedback that somebody gives you. Now, sometimes we can receive feedback in a way that is, it could have been said better, or it could have come across a little differently, but if you know that the content of what was said was not meant to be said with malice, just don't take it personally and just hear what they have to say, because believe it or not, most people in medicine want to see you do great things. Now, there are some handfuls, very, very small handful of individuals within medicine who are not great teachers, and they probably shouldn't be teaching, and can be a little malignant, and have like pretty toxic personalities. It's not hard to distinguish between who those people are versus people who are actually just here to help you. Those people typically make themselves very clear about their intentions. It's like you can see it because they'll treat the residents a certain type of way too, and it's just they're not a good vibe, and you'll know. If you ever feel like you've been personally attacked, or someone is coming after you in a way that is not constructive and is not helpful and is not even appropriate, you can choose to have a very thick skin and let it just kind of roll off of you and say, okay, well, I know the problem is with this person and the problem is not with me. Or you can, always report it later on down the road. But anyways, you have to understand that there's a difference between constructive criticism and feedback versus just toxic behavior. And I say stay open to the constructive criticism, stay open to the feedback. Then when somebody kind of starts acting kind of wild towards you, you just have to tell yourself, that's them, that's not me, and I will report that later. So this next point is kind of like the perfect point to put after the one that I just talked about. Medicine is not perfect. And as much as we would like to think that, medicine has made all these strides and improvements when it has come to diversity and inclusivity, which it still has a long way to go. There's still a lot of racism, misogyny, classism, xenophobia, homophobia. There's still so much of that within medicine, whether it's geared towards patients or geared towards learners and students and other employees. There's a lot of that that's still happening. What we should talk about is, how do you even handle those kinds of situations? As a Black woman, even though, most of my third year I did not experience discrimination or things like that, but I've had a very small handful of those experiences, and they were so bad they just really, they impacted me in a way that I was not expecting. You know, I'm from the South. I've dealt with racism there too. I've been called all sorts of crazy things by random people on the street. It's not the first time I've dealt with being degraded or discriminated against, okay? But for some odd reason on my third year, it just felt so terrible. And I think it felt so terrible because I was in a position of having no power or no agency. It felt like I didn't have any agency as a medical student, and I couldn't speak up for myself, and that sucked, okay? I think it sent me on a really weird spiral, and it really colored how I felt about medicine for a very long time. It wasn't the bulk of my experience, but it was impactful enough that it stayed with me for longer than it probably should have. If you ever find yourself in a situation where you feel like you're being mistreated or discriminated against in some kind of way, I would tell you to find somebody at your institution that you trust, who you feel comfortable speaking to about these kinds of things, and go from there. Truly, one of the most important things is just finding somebody to talk to this about, because just kind of holding it in and then like analyzing it over and over in your brain, I think can just make you spiral. Like, it made me spiral. Somebody else's bigotry is not my fault, and I just didn't understand that, and I wish that I would have talked about it with somebody I had trusted much sooner, somebody who could have helped me through process that much sooner than I did. Find somebody who you trust, talk to them about it, and then go from there, because they can probably point you in the correct direction to get the help that you would need to deal with the situation. You can always report them, or you can, wait until you're out of that clerkship to report them, whatever's best for you and your emotional and mental well-being, because it's not easy for everyone to report right then and there. Talk to somebody that you trust and figure out the ways in which you can report anonymously. Protect yourself. Like, you come first. Protect your mental and emotional well-being. Like, don't let people take that away from you because they're angry. So that leads me into my next piece of advice, which is protecting your well-being. I think third year is a different time. The beginning of getting the feel of what it would be like to be a work in this field. So your time is not your own anymore, aside from just the physical demands of being on clerkship and working and things like that, and sometimes working pretty long hours and having to go study and stuff. I think there's also the pressure to perform, and there's a lot of anxiety sometimes, and there's just a lot of other things going on. Best thing I can tell you is to keep doing the things that bring you joy and fill up your own cup. Yes, you won't have as much time, but you can find 30 minutes here, 30 minutes there to go do a workout if you like to work out and that helps you relieve stress, or go paint a picture or take pictures or play an instrument or do something that just really brings you joy and brings you fulfillment outside of medicine, because it'll just help you keep trucking on through. Really try to maintain your friendships. Not even just friendships, but all of your important relationships. Maintenance of those relationships might look different during this time, but very important to maintain. Schedule times to talk to your friends and family, and because that's important. Life keeps lifing even when you're in medical school, and there's only so much that you want to miss out on, okay? It's not even like a FOMO thing. It's like a understanding how to have a life-work balance. It shouldn't be an all or nothing for anyone. And doctors will tell you, find work-life balance. Okay, so I think the most important piece of advice that I can give about third year is this piece here. Remember what you're doing this for. Remember why you chose to go to medical school. You did not choose to go to medical school for grades, to brag about the A's that you got. Like, that's not, or the accolades. Like, nobody's like, I want to go to medical school to get AOA. Nobody says that. Like, that's not a real thing. You came to medical school to take care of people, how to be there for people in some of their most darkest moments of their life, or even some of the most happiest moments of their life. Being a doctor as rigorous as this whole process has been, and it will be through residency, it is an honorable job, and it's honorable for a reason. Not everybody is given the opportunity to develop a level of intimacy with this many different people in their lifetime. You're not going to save everybody, right? You're not going to change everybody's life, but shoot, even if you just change one, that's really important. Not everybody gets to have this experience. When you're on your third year and you're stressed about evaluations or grades, just ask yourself, who am I doing this for? What am I doing all of this for? You're doing it for your patients now and your patients in the future. When you put them first, after you put your own mental and physical well-being up there somewhere, you're not going to be so concerned about those evaluations or the grades. Like, you're not. And matter of fact, you do a good job with your patients, the grades and the evaluations will show up in the way that you need them to as well. The accolades that we receive from our peers are nice and they're great and they're nice, but they're not as fulfilling as it is when a patient comes up to you and is like, thank you so much for just taking the time to listen to me. Thank you for talking to me. Thank you for advocating for me. You know, as a third year medical student, believe it or not, you have an incredibly special role on the team. You spend the most time with your patients out of anybody on that team. You can really get to know them, get to know their situation, get to advocate for them and really fight for them and be a voice for them when they might feel voiceless. And that is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful ability to have, that as a third and fourth year, that's all you get. Because I'm not saying you can't do it in residency, but in residency, you're going to be carrying a higher patient volume. You may not be able to spend as much time with your patients. And so you're going to have to finesse that and figure that out a little differently. But as a third year medical student, this is your time to really shine in that way. Just remember that your patients that you're seeing in clinic, on the wards, before they go into surgery, these are the people that you're doing it for. You're not doing it for the grades. All that other stuff will follow, but put them first. Put yourself first. And don't be too hard on yourself, okay? It's more fulfilling if you think about it that way. So those are my 7 pieces of advice. Again, I am so sorry if the quality of the audio is crazy or if the lighting is crazy, but I really was feeling it in my heart to come post this video about third year, because I think there's just some things that are left unsaid that should be said and are really important. I hope that those 7 tips were helpful to some degree, but I hope that you also go into your clerkship years understanding that it is a very unique experience. You know, you're gonna have highs, you're gonna have lows. You might even have days that are just truly neutral, like you don't feel any type of way about them. You know, this is just a new season of life. It's the next step in your career, and it's gonna help you get to where you need to be. Try to take as much from it as you can. Try to learn, but also remember to still be a human and still be supportive and still have fun when you can have fun, and learn from all the people that you can, including your classmates and your colleagues. So I am absolutely rooting for you to do wonderful and amazing things. But just know, on those bad days, we all had them. We all had bad days too, and that just comes with the territory. If you have any questions, any comments, concerns, whatever, leave them down below. I would love to answer them. And don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and hit subscribe if you are really feeling this content. And yeah, I will see you around in my next one. Bye-bye.